Hello.
Hello, Dr. Brad. We're talking about the Bud Light. Is it Bud Light? Is it Bud Light?
Yes.
So you were about to say something?
Like we were talking about marketing and the attention marketplace and how the Bud Light people miss the mark so badly.
How do you do that? How do you get it that wrong? It's just bizarre to me. I mean,
So I think they're lining up with this. They see the future trend and they're trying to gather the attention of the younger market set into the future and but they didn't calculate the expense at the current buyer's preferences.
right. Having run this kind of business, right? So there's a tendency among, how do you get these people think? A creative director keeps his or her, most of the guys, his or her thumb on what's getting attention right now.
Mhm.
So that's what they live in. That's why they're extroverted, extroverted, cognitively empathic, etc. What's getting attention right now? How do I make my brand take advantage of the fact that this thing is getting attention? And you say, well, then there's like attention with who, right? So if you're having, you have a brand that's appealing to the certain age group and you want to move it downward, you have to find something that does it. Now, history is replete with the catastrophic errors of these things, right? I mean, yeah, the new Coke. I mean, Jesus, what a fucking stupid. At the time, it was so obvious it was stupid, right? But it wasn't obvious to somebody, right? So this is just another one of those things where there's an urban, a lot of this dysfunctionality. I should have this map. Should show up a map of the population density of the United States, which is, I mean, there's like more people in LA County than the rest of the country, basically. I mean, that's overstating it. And it's the same thing for the Boston, New York, Baltimore, DC corridor, right? Philadelphia, DC corridor, right? There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people there. And for some reason, there's a hell of a lot of people in California and Florida,
Yeah.
right? But that's really it, So the thing is, there's a lot of trend developing in those places, right? Because that's where the trends are visible. That's where trends originate. But that doesn't mean that's who's always buying your product or who determines the legitimacy of your product. In other words, a legitimacy in these population dense centers, which are young people, right, has a higher tolerance than the population density everywhere else. And so these people can experiment within
Right.
limits, and those limits can funnel down into the mainstream. But you can't counteract the brand identity of that stable population versus the unstable population. You got to think of it that way. The novelty seeking population versus the stability seeking population. So you see creative directors do this all the time, is they think, well, something's really hot. Well, of course it's really hot because you're from New York or Los Angeles or Miami, right? And you think this is really cool. It's not cool. It's just cool in an environment where you're so saturated with novelty that this sticks out to you. But that you don't know that that's above the tolerance level of
Right.
the rest of the population. So, and then the second thing is there's a moral component to these things. Like I can't remember, Sam Adams did a pretty good job of this. I was surprised that Sam Adams beer was so successful at rolling out. It was thinking of my generation.
Mhm.
And so what you get into these places where there you may not realize there's a moral component to what you're doing, right? Or there's a political component to what you're doing. Because the insensitivity to moral and political questions inside urban
Mm.
areas is again like everything else. There's so a lot of noise, so it's more novelty seeking, right? Whereas in the rest of the place, it's like that's immoral. So it was the failure for them. Again, this is a young, elite school educated Jewish girl, right? So she's gonna get it wrong. I mean, it's just like deterministic. She's gonna get it wrong, right? Right. And the second thing is there's a difference between a creative director and a marketer, right? Now, a marketer should just be looking at data and channels.
Mhm.
A creative director should be looking at how is this going to play, right? Because that's what they're good at. So you get the problem of these. This is like a lot of problems in the world where the person is looking at these guys are looking at how this is going to play, and they live in a bubble.
Yeah.
And then they're talking to, and Rose, I bought a lot of ad agencies, right? So I mean, this is not something
Oh,
I'm
okay.
familiar with, and I'm a conservative, which they find humorous, right? These places I buy, right? Like, no, I love you guys. I went to art school. I get all this, right? But they live in that world of. I actually liked running them, right? I mean, I liked owning those companies because the people, they're fun, right? So, you get into this, you get into this thing. There's a creative director may get it, and then the marketer may get it, but these things can be bubbles, right? Because the trends are fashionable, whatever, and it's going to get attention. Yeah, but if you don't know enough people outside of those bubbles to
How
be
like it's a failure of due diligence.
the failure of due diligence. And now some things work. Like you could do like trying to think of one that was yeah, the difference is you can make fun of yourself, right? But what they didn't realize is they were making fun of other people. And those other people didn't like being made fun of. So it's the same thing with the politicization of the vaccine. The minute they politicized it, they were making fun of people, insulting people morally. And you can't, that's the trick. You can't go that bar. So somebody didn't understand that this was offensive. And the answer is that these people are largely political activists, not marketers. And in other words, their political activism has a higher priority than their marketing interest.
All right, so they're not professionals, what you're saying.
Correct. And this is actually the problem, right? The the promotion of activism which means it's undermining. The promotion of undermining as a moral good, as a common good, which is what the academies are producing. It started with the 60s because we did not shut it down in the 60s. Instead, we went the other way. We gave in. If we hadn't given in, we wouldn't be here.
Yep.
But we're Christian and we're optimistic. No more. Zero tolerance. Turns out, well, at least zero tolerance for all these hazards.
It's public feminine misbehavior.
Evasion of responsibility. Well, I mean, that's one of the things is that I was going to say this earlier, but if you're looking at novelty, what are you selling? Well, for most of advertising's history, you were selling status.
Right.
But what they've begun selling is actually rebellion or decadence or hedonism. They're not selling status. They're selling irresponsibility. And so we should be able to say advertising selling irresponsibility. So there's different with Coca-Cola commercial, which is celebration.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons I went into art school was I was like, I want to make Coca-Cola commercials. So if I got to make money at this, I'm going to make Coca-Cola commercials. Then I understood how the economics of the commercial business. I'm like, you'd have to be fucking crazy to go into this business. What a fucking shit show this is. It's like half the people are working for peanuts and the other half are looking for two peanuts instead. Right? I mean, it's a disorganized mob. So anyway, totally. But anyway, so Coca-Cola. So
It was wise you did that analysis first.
Well, it's like I grew up in a family that builds businesses and runs banks. I mean, obviously, I think of that first because that's how I think of everything. Can this make money? And who am I going to work with in order to make money? And is this going to help me make it? And you realize that business is full of crazy fucking people. So, I mean, that was a great chart that I shared this morning from a paper that shows mental instability, most and least by profession. Of course, those fucking actors and actresses are up there at the top of the crazy fuckers paradigm. So, but anyway, shit, I lost it.
Talking about the advertising agencies.
Oh, so the what you get into is that there's this tendency to switch to follow. In other words, once you've exhausted an opportunity for status, which is the case I made in the 90s, right? I was saying, you don't understand. The middle class method can't sell anymore. Now you're selling identities. But identities can run out of positive attributions too. So now you start selling your responsibilities. And I'm making this case. I don't know what year it was I gave this speech. That wasn't 90. Might have been like 2003 or something like that. I give this to a bunch of places around the planet. I realized it was fruitless. You can't help marketers. You can't teach them. They have to learn by doing. They have to learn by failing.
Oh my.
And so in other words, it's very difficult to be ahead of the curve.
Yes.
For that part of the industry. Whereas in science and technology and economics and finance, they're more system thinking, so they can think about ahead of the curve. But marketers, creative directors, they're sort of in the moment.
Yeah. It's a feminine function.
Arguably feminine function, arguably empathic function. All the best creative directors are male. There's like no, there's not. It's like everything else. The difference between male creative directors, I don't know why women even bother. However, female account representatives are fantastic. It's one of those things. The same. Anyway, somebody will come by. Well, what about marriage? Whatever. It's like saying if you take 1 million people, it's going to be a normal distribution. There's going to be some women who are really good at it, but I mean, by and large, they're mostly guys, right? So it's like, and then the marketers are not always, but a lot of the time female. And then you get really good marketers, which I love. You can talk to them. I was like, well, on a certain 36.25% of people have this particular, and in this particular demographic, in this part of the country, and of course, on that national channel, they have a 86.6% preference of the country. That's what they sound like. Right. I said, well, we tend to use these channels because we have to distribute money. We can, across these many channels, and we use this kind of billboard, this many advertisements, whatever. We end up getting this kind of result, this kind of period of time. It's those people, they know their shit. I mean, they're really, and I just love talking to them because it's like social science,
right?
Right. But then you could get these people, and here's another statistic. What's the average lifespan of a market? Chief marketing officer is the new glorified title, but VP of marketing. What do you think the career lifespan of these people is in a company?
That's interesting. I don't have a clue.
It's a couple of years.
Wow.
Right. So what you really do is that here's what happens in the field, right? Somebody develops a style or method, and then somebody's good at selling that. right? And
Right.
other people flock to it until it's gone. And that can be
Burns the opportunity up.
right. But so you have to, it's sort of like, it's like in program, we say, well, you'd have to learn a new programming language every 3 or 5 years, right? Because that's what it's not exactly true. But I mean, in the marketing business, you have to like develop a new skill set, every 2 years.
Hmm.
And at least in the creative business. That's why so many creative guys burn out. That's why the maximum revenue a creative guy can produce is fairly small, right? That's why it's mostly dependent upon the creative guy, an agency. And then that person will have a hard time finding a new niche, right? And so he'll be replaced.
Hmm.
So what you do is you find the people who capture major brands with slow changing branding is where you will make all your money. And the young guys are always trying to get into some other brand or whatever.
A hot brand.
What's really happening most of the time is that your small agency gets this job because Jaguar Motor Cars realizes that this is a production line effort. It doesn't really matter. The brand guidelines are all there. So why should I pay one of the top agencies 6 times what I pay you to get it done? You think you're
Right.
important, but you're really not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know a lot about this business. I don't, So it's like, so it's just hard for me to believe. Like Frito-Lay, PepsiCo, is it PepsiCo Frito? Is that what it is? Anyway, I can't remember what the combination is.
Right.
Every time I work with them, I'm like, wow, these people are good. I mean, and because they're like, you could talk to a middle manager in that company, and he will to know what it's like for the driver of the Frito-Lay delivery truck. Right? There's something right in that company.
Yeah.
Like they just get what they're doing, right? I can't imagine Fritos doing something this stupid.
Right.
And given that my family, well, my uncle is high up and was a senior guy at Anheuser-Busch, right? I have a hard time seeing how the hell this happened.
Right.
I mean, I can't. I mean, there are companies you can see doing stupid stuff, right? But
Right.
this, I just like how the fuck can you get that wrong? How do you get that wrong? I mean, it's different if you come out with like who was my friend New York Soho sodas, right? And we had an equivalent out in Seattle, local soda. Yep. You expect those people to be in the rainbow cloud. I mean, that's what they do, right? They're building a brand for a submarket, right? And they're building it into this edgy urban youth stuff, which just means the product is virtue signaling.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, like for them to try that stuff, but Budweiser, fucking Bud Light. I mean, that's like, the Bud Light, Coors Light people. I mean, this is like,
See, it's like the doubling down. I look at it like the doubling down of the junkie. It's just like they believe the lie and they're going to tell themselves the lie to extinction.
I would
And
just love. This is one of those things that we should get. Like, we did an exhaustive study of why New Coke failed, so that no advertising agency would ever do that again.
right.
Right? And we know why, because you could, if you take a shot of Coke and a shot of Pepsi will taste better. But if you drink a can of Coke or a can of Pepsi, the can of Coke will taste better.
No.
Right. And this has to do with the nutty versus lemony flavor. Right. It's just fun. So of course, if you do a study on taste testing, comparative taste testing, you're going to end up with Pepsi being, and so we know how they screwed this up, right? But it's like the case study, right? It's like, because how do you screw something up like Coca-Cola, for Christ's sake? I mean, that's a pretty, well, how do you screw something up like this? We need to have a case study of what the decision criteria was inside Anheuser-Busch that allowed this to happen. Because now it could turn out, and this happens, right? That in some companies, different commercials are delegated down because the brand guidelines they think are solid enough,
Oh,
right? So we don't really know if this passed any executive level or if this was just a new person trying to show she had a brilliant idea and stepped on a fucking landmine of new Coke proportions, right?
yeah, yeah. She made New Coke fade into the distance. They lost $6 billion in a week of market capitalization. It's like, wow,
That's that better be career ending for her.
wow, just wow.
So I don't know. They're not. They're the opposite one is Volkswagen coming into the USA in the 60s.
Yes,
They bring the
yes,
Beetle in.
yes. They have to turn our people's car into
How
some.
do I turn a Nazi car into a Jewish city? Right, sell a Nazi car into a Jewish city. Right, that was the joke.
Wow.
But they made it the hippie thing, right? So it was you could, if you understand your client, your customers, you can sell to them. But boy, I mean, some marketers they make. I mean, it's hard to be that wrong. Is guess what I'm saying? I mean, you have to be an ideologue to be that wrong, or you
Mm,
have to be a fucking idiot. One or the other. I suppose in this case, it's probably both.
good enough.
Anyway, all right. So we're supposed to do some work today,
Yes, sir.
and we're supposed to do some work on first principles.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to ask you in the audience to forgive my sniffles. I don't. Must be allergy season has started. Is that what's going on?
Yes. Springtime.
I am just dying. All right, so I'm going to share my screen
Right.
and then set the stage.
Okay. Generalization of the laws of the physical universe.
Okay, so okay, this is the book, right? The science. This
Okay.
this is pretty rock. This is pretty good right here, right?
Okay.
Some of this writing is really good, but uh, okay. And so this is the generalization. So if we look at this, this is way too precise. This is the foundations of physics.
Right.
I don't feel that's really useful.
Where are we gonna what useful in what context? Because last I recall we were working on pamphlet.
Right. So here's what we're doing here. We're trying to produce. Make sure I got this right. This is the one that we have, and this is the one we're making.
Okay.
Right. And so we're trying to unify all this other stuff into one place so we can distribute it around the Constitution.
Okay.
Right. And it's hard. All right. So what I went through and I said, okay, well, I copied the pieces from those. We did this, right?
Yeah,
Right? And so I copied those headings to the front here,
right,
right? And so what we have to do is fill this out. So
yep,
the part, once we get up into truth and cooperation, it's pretty easy for us to do, right? But down here, we're trying to figure out how do we state the ternary logic so that it can fit over into this, right? Laws of nature.
right,
Right? That's what we're trying to do. So what I did is I copied over our basic outline to here.
okay,
So then we're going to go into the laws of nature, which I believe is evolutionary computation. And then we go into the part on man, and then we do part of language and logic. All right. Truth, language,
right,
and so we're trying to get from the various pages into here. Now, the question is, we've already copied that into that. Look at all the shit we have here. Um, we really have that and that. Well, that's not it. I have where did it go? This one. What we're trying to do is get across evolutionary computation. If I look at this one, like dipoles, quantum fluctuations, right? I can't write this stuff in there,
no,
you know? And if I write the generalization, it's the same thing. This is the next level up.
right,
Right? Where's the third one? So we have first principle, generalization,
hmm,
and then the summary and ternary logical first. Well, this is a simple, we put that in there. We've got to communicate this idea. Follow?
evolutionary computation,
Right? So and if we go to that's all we say here, and that's not enough. So that's not enough. That's way too much.
right,
That's way too much, maybe. This is more likely what we want to communicate. We want to get this hierarchy. But we have to. The question you want to ask is, okay?
Hmm.
Yeah, I want to keep the third picture back there. It's just the hierarchy. So these things, I feel pretty good about everything except this.
Say that again.
We have to start, it's like we're starting with the hard thing, because I've
It
written.
is a hard thing.
It is the hard thing, because we have to make it simple.
So it will be very abstract.
I think it doesn't need to be complicated.
No, I think you just make a simple analog.
Is that really too much?
It's really not very long.
I don't know if it's that long, not bad, is it? Right. think it could use some tailoring, but maybe it's not as bad as I thought.
right? Because it's not huge.
Yeah. Like this, you just can't go down to that level.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to get, feel like I'm gonna get overwhelmed here. In other words, I'm gonna get too obsessed with the physics.
Right.
Whereas what I want to say, what are we trying to gain this?
You're trying to make an abstraction, right?
We want to convey the basic. We want to define it.
It's the generalized function, right?
That's what we want to do.
Right.
And what does this consist of?
What are the minimum elements necessary to to construct it?
Right, so we have to talk about
Right. Mm-hmm. Then there's a emergent properties, right? The emergence of higher orders. Yes. So what this piece does is describes the function, the generalized function that everything else falls into. It's the most basic description of the science, right? Like an introduction. Hmm.
That's
Hmm, right. So the question is, do you want to import something there or do you want to just write it?
This need to be included.
What's that?
Does this need to be included? I think it does. I need to ask.
Hmm.
Right. If there's any of them in there.
That is a most generalized function.
I think I did this. Yeah. Oh, we've gone through. Well, let's discuss this. This isn't necessary. That's too detailed. I don't want to give people that much.
They can go consult the other tome.
Yeah. That's simple. How have I stated it? How have I stated it? How have I stated? Anything else? I mean, is that enough? We're getting a long version of that. Do we want, I'd kind of want to avoid pictures here. Is that okay?
That's fine.
If the pictures go in this science, good.
Right.
I was thinking, Brett asks, you want a copy of pasta or do you want to just write it? And I'm thinking, well, hell, if I've written it before, why didn't I write it? Why didn't I write it here? Why did I copy and paste it? But it turns out that I've written it in too great precision elsewhere. All we have to prove is what?
What you're doing is you're making an argument for the existence of the ternary logic at all levels of complexity in the witnessed universe. That's what you're proving. And so you just have to define it, and it's an abstraction, right?
I highlighted something here. Let me get the concept of opportunity.
Concept of opportunity, did you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you made the point already. I think you're, all we have to do is this.
Right.
That's our, and then we just start with them, right?
Yes.
How far off is this? Copy this over. See what's happening. It's not on somebody.
Mm. Fix that, please. Survival. Thank you. Now you mean no memory, right?
Uh,
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good.
VC is good.
There's so you've got this. You caused the generation of stable relations leading to survival, which lost its V oddly.
I took it out to see how long it'd take you to find it. I was looking at you when I did it, and I'm thinking, I wonder if the audience is gonna catch this, or
It's tricksterism at work.
I'm just fucking with you.
And so you've created this is Genesis. It's you've described how everything comes into existence at every level of complexity of potential human experience. That's what that first, from the background to stable relations, gets us to survival. And then we describe what mere survival gets you. Prior to life.
Right. So this is what happens, and this is what we explain. Right, that's all we're trying to get. This is it, right?
Yes.
This is, I don't know what this is. This is like how it works. I don't know, something like that.
There you go.
This is the summary. We need to state the ternary logic here.
Right. Wait, I thought that was lower down. In your higher, pull down further, please. There it is, right?
No, this is it.
Oh, this is it. We haven't got to the ternary logic.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Hmm.
We have a positive and negative,
Yes.
so we have to make. Oh, boy. Yes, goes into all it can do. All it can do.
Right. Right.
That's the conclusion. And so the turn.
Right. So the universe is all positive and negative is before. All it can do is during, and the output is evolutionary computation.
That is therefore. Survival go here up further.
Survival goes up there.
Because you could put it right here, right? Put it here.
Right.
And yeah, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, really. Is that
Mhm.
right? Is that about right? Because we're trying to get across, we have to get across the ternary logic. We have to cross. I'm gonna look at what I'm typing, that'd be a lot better. I'll do that. So the themes I'm trying to get across, I want to get this theme across, this theme across, this theme across, linear logic. Fast equals logic. Why am I E not reacting? Is there something spooky in my E key? Yes. The left side of my E key is less sensitive. It's probably a crumb under there or some spilled coffee. This is like doesn't get don't get even simpler.
Right.
Is mass persistence. With stable relation.
That's it.
This is something I want to get across.
What's that?
This is what I was trying to get across.
Yep.
So we get the physical origins from there. We get the logic of the universe. We get the grammar, noun word test of the universe. We get the sentence structure, which is recombination.
Curt, I'm gonna mute.
Okay.
Well, that was shocking.
Uh,
Phone call.
that the connection, that reality, the logics, language, reality, existence, computation, logic, language. What about?
I think so.
This is working.
What's that?
This is working.
Good. That was harder than I thought it would be.
Well, it's because we're trying to,
It's a condensing function.
right, and we're trying to do it while we're producing multiple dimensions here. So we're trying to get what is existence? Does it come into being? And then how do we get this? What's the relationship between the logic and our language? So we're showing that our language is just reflective of reality.
Hmm.
So we're saying, this is the before you were saying this earlier, right?
Yeah. It just, how silly is it? It's just.
It's always the fucking same. Isn't there something annoying about?
Wait, it goes to this pachinko balls. It's just, I'm gonna make a pachinko set, man, just because I'm gonna just put a bunch of nails in a board and pour ball bearings or marbles on it, just to watch it make bell curves. It's just, that's what it looks like to me. It's inevitable, simple, and it's accidental in its function to any particular marble. You didn't spell before correctly, however.
My E key,
It's that crumb.
that chrome.
Once a colon after that,
A colon after.
after before. So close. Yeah, so it is the simplicity of it is that's what's amazing to me. And which is the beauty of it is its explanatory power.
Yes.
It's crystalline in its nature and it's fractal in its dimensionality. And you just described it in less than a page, like a half of a page.
Right, which is beautiful, right?
That's as good as it can possibly get.
How's your time?
I'm good.
I'm thinking you're thinking of the background processing. So what are the goofy objections to this?
Oh my.
So the one of them is, so one of the problems is this is what what's his name? So Wolfram, is that the reason these fundamental rules exist is that they're the only rules that can survive.
Okay.
So there's a tendency in physics to say the universe is built perfectly. No. The rules of the universe are the only rules that can survive.
Right.
There's no other rules that can survive. There's no other rules.
Been tried. They've all been tried.
The universe tries. It doesn't work.
Right. It has to do with their stable relations. It's a stable relationship that's created.
Right, but I mean, let's say that there was some fundamental change to the quantum background, because everything's really four basic rules, right, to the physics, and everything's just a ratio of something else, and we don't know why that ratio is true.
Right.
But that's because only that ratio can survive. Only those four ratios can survive. If
Right.
you change the nature of the quantum background, then some other set would emerge and survive. And so they're not taking it far enough back to say it's just, it's just fucking pressure here.
Right, because that solves the problem. Because the universe has a problem of pressure.
That's it. We just don't know why.
We don't understand that part because we can't see that deep.
So there's that one. What about magical information?
Okay, what does that mean? Wait, so I think you should write these down somewhere.
I did.
Okay, so what's magical information mean?
We talk about a field of opportunities. So we know how information can be transferred in the universe. And there's no other means of transferring information in the universe at the scale we call mass.
Okay.
Right. I'm not absolutely convinced that any information can move through the universe faster than light can. But we don't really know that.
Right.
But at the scale of mass, in other words, anything that humans can work with, the scale of anything that can affect mass, there's no space for any other kind of force. Does that make sense? There's no way for information to be sent in the universe.
Transfer of information can't occur faster than what we recognize as light.
Right, and it can't. There's no other way. In other words, we know what the universe can do. Now we don't know.
Right, you call it magical because it doesn't exist.
Right, and so the problem is that people invent a lot of things, like the use of the word quantum has become hysterical now, and especially when what it means is relatively trivial. right, is that there's a quantum this and quantum that. What they just mean is it's magic. And weird people do this too, like, Sir Roger, what is his name? Sir Roger does it. I mean, he's a fucking physicist. Where does he come up with this shit? Right? So,
You're thinking of Sheldrake?
no, he's the crazy one. He's the one I like to make fun of.
Yeah, that's who I thought you were. I thought you were going.
Sir Roger Penrose.
Okay.
And he says stuff. And then you got, somebody who I really admire, like Michio Kaku. He says crazy shit all the time. I make fun of Brian Greene like on a daily basis.
So wait, you're going to this magical information. I want to keep you on track.
Okay.
There's no method for information to be transducted through the universe than what is described.
Yes.
What has been recognized and there's no way for information to travel through the universe besides by physical means.
It's not the right way to say it. Because you were going to call the quantum background physical, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have mass, but it's existential.
It provides the substrate upon which all the physicality is derived. It permeates the entire place. So it's physical.
Okay. What else?
This would go to conservation of matter and energy.
One of the things I'm trying to do is, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Expand. I'm trying to avoid electromagnetism.
I like that.
The minute I go there, it's just
It's a deep one, deep well.
why it's scalar relations here. Or is it here?
Yeah. So they passed the test.
Right. It's the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we said we would do that there, and then the first principles here. All we're trying to do is get this done, right?
Right.
All. And then this, we just start out with a hierarchy of computation, right? Which is pretty easy. I can do it off
Just
the
like a
top.
list.
It's just a list.
It's like 19 things or something like that. It's
Yeah.
not very many.
The thing is, we've got a lot of them, so it's really a question of what do we want to put in there.
Right.
In other words, like if we go to this, right? We could keep adding to this list. Right, over and over again. But I don't know if we want to do that. We want to just get to. I don't know. Do we have the physical?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have
Of
those
course.
three, right?
What's that?
We have those three to cover, right?
That's it. I like them categorized. That's nice. But they're in hierarchical order.
Right. And we don't have to hit everything, right?
There's not that many.
Let's
I
get-
think you can hit everything that's like,
There's man. Not really that long, is it?
mm, 20 pages.
Not that long. What we'll do is when we get. Because our real problem is just this, right? Our real problem is, we just haven't done this. Excuse me, I did this in proof form,
Yeah.
and we did this as an explanatory form.
Okay.
And so, we've got this stuff figured out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the problem we're running into is we're doing the hard thing first. Which is this one, but we just haven't done it. In human readable form before.
Right.
So this is man, right? We've got that, and that's root. So we've probably, I think so the real hard part here is we just do this, this, and this. Right? And then we go over to mankind. We just go through that page. And make sure we still got it right.
Right.
Right? All right. I was trying to figure out why this is troubling me so much. Is because until we talked today, I was like, how the fuck am I going to make, what's the net here that people have to understand? Because of course I have the nerd problem. I want to go into detail. I want to talk about this and that. All right, I think that's enough for today. What do you think?
Perfect. I enjoyed that.
That was really good. Thank you. You're so amazing. Oh, really? It's fucking awesome.
Well, it's making progress. That's a good sign.
I could see us get done. I just see it. It's just so. And I've got like 3 or 4 guys helping me. I mean, I got you and I in the weekends on this, and other guys the other days.
We're good. We're good.
It's weird how, I don't know. It's like you were saying last night, we're recording this
Yeah, we're recording.
for the, so Brad was saying, we're just kind of blown away by the quality of the people right now, aren't we? As was last night. It was pretty enjoyable. I mean, we had a little bit of a congratulatory experience over the past couple of days. Because, right? Because I'm seeing it when people are working with me, and you're seeing it working with people in social media. I was like, wow,
It's
this is working.
it's interesting, and it's like the yeah, it's like it's hard to see, but you can sense it. You sense it, but it's not easy to see. But you get a different sense of the interactivity is improved.
Yes.
And I'm watching the postings by these guys, and they're sharp.
They're really sharp. I mean, especially, I mean, just since the beginning of the year, the difference just since the beginning of the year is just, it's a quantum leap in their ability. It's amazing to me. We do good work, dude.
We're on it.
All right, love you, man. Thank you for today. See you tomorrow. We'll work on this tomorrow.
Wait,
Nope.
you
Yes.
hit like and subscribe, and that notification bell, that thing, and leave those comments, please.
Yes, I love your comments. Thank you. And I do notice that people are working harder to make comments.
Good.
And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Curt.
Bye-bye.
Bye.